Welcome back to the Author Experts podcast with me, Heather Marie, and I have a very special guest today, Heather Duke. She is an amazing local children's book author. So can you please tell us about your books and if you're currently working on something new?
Thank you so much for having me, Heather. I have 2 books. My first self-published book was Two Shoes. That came out in the winter of 2023, actually. Yeah, that's the one, Two Shoes. Love it. That was my first and my by far most successful. And then my second was Boy Mom, which came out in the middle of last year. And that's this one here, Boy Mom.
So cute.
It's my favorite. So Two Shoes is a fable. It's a traditional 3-point story that takes you from a peaceful situation into a problem that needs to be solved, and then the characters work it out. The thing that sets it apart, I think, is that it is layered with many different lessons that children enjoy, but they don't even realize they're learning a good lesson while they're doing it. So the general story, though, is that there is a statue of a boy in a town who wakes up at night to look for his missing shoe. He's never had a shoe. He has one shoe. He doesn't know why he doesn't have a shoe, but every night he wakes up to look for it. And when he does and he can't find it, out of frustration, starts causing all kinds of mischief in town, pranks and silly things. That's kids' favorite part, by the way. The pranks are always their favorite part. Parents roll their eyes.
So wait, you have to tell them one of the pranks that's in there, because I've read the book, so I know, but...
There's one that gets everybody's attention. So it's typical stuff. The first one is that he takes a bite of every donut in the donut shop. So if you were to go get your donuts the next morning, there'd be a bite missing. The second one is that he plays ding dong ditch, basically. He knocks on the doors and runs away. But the third one, and the one that gets the biggest reaction...
It's my favorite!
And like I said, the adults in the room always kind of look shocked because they think the kids will try it, is he glues shut the toilet seats. And all the kids go, "Oh no!" They freak out. And adults are like, "Don't try that. Don't try that." But it's a really good prank.
But it keeps them engaged.
It keeps them engaged. They love that part. They love that part. And so he looks for this shoe and he can never find it. And so he always plays these pranks in the town. And a really brilliant young girl catches him. She realizes what he's up to because she's spying on him. And when she confronts him about the trouble that he's causing, after a conversation, realizes that really he's quite lonely and needs a friend. So they work it out. She ends up, spoiler alert, she ends up sharing her shoe, but she comes out each night when he comes to life to bring all her friends to play with him. And so I find when I share that concept with families that the kids are like, magic, pranks, cool. Like that's awesome. That's what they're into.
It's awesome.
The adults love that layered in there are not these overt but very subtle lessons that pull out conversations about sharing and friendship, talking to children about how, and I have boys, so this is why the statue was my character. It comes from inspiration of my boys, but is that when children are frustrated, not heard, don't have something they need, in my case a shoe, but we know that there's more serious things than that, that's when they tend to act out. And so we perceive that as trouble, we perceive that as bad behavior, but really it's because there's some unmet need. And in my story, the young girl figures out the need. Her name's Maggie, by the way. So Maggie figures out the need and fulfills it, which in this case was connection and friendship.
And since I've seen you do this a lot, I know one particular part that I absolutely love what you do when you do readings.
Thank you.
And you do not have a name for the statue.
That's true. That was intentional.
Yes.
So thank you for bringing that up. When I've presented to schools and in my presentations or assemblies or smaller readings even, one of the questions I ask the kids is, did you notice in the whole story the statue never had a name? And they're all, oh, and I said, well, that was on purpose. And really the only reason behind that is because if I want the kids to connect to any character, it's the statue.
Yeah, I love it.
The statue is our main character who needs the thing that he's missing, and so I ask them to name him. Yeah. And it depends. Most of the time they take it very seriously and they give very serious answers. The older you get, the names get sillier and sillier. And I'm like, okay, I can tell we're just playing games here. But most of the time they take it very seriously. And I think that causes them to, in some creative way, connect better to that character.
Yeah.
So that was intentional.
I love that part. That is my favorite. So I definitely wanted to make sure we touched on that. So what inspired you to start writing children's books? And what do you hope kids take away from your stories?
Thank you so much. I would have told you that I never was a creative person. I don't believe you. I thank you. I've always worked in office settings. I've always been in professional settings. I've always been very type A, checklist. Like there's nothing, I always thought art was kind of a waste of time. And then I moved to Florida and I was able to become a stay-at-home mom, which before I never was. And when I found time to be calm and peaceful and just be with my boys, I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. They're the lights of my life. The inspiration it came to me. It took me. I never sat down and said, I want to be an author and I'm going to figure it. It just overtook me, this story. I was sharing with my 6-year-old a story at nap time. And I would make things up, but I mean, they were just simple little made up stories. It wasn't anything special. But I made up something about the statue missing a shoe. And that came from him saying, Mom, can you tell me a story? It's kind of like Bluey. And there was like the magic statue episode. Yeah. Most parents will know what that is. And I said, okay, a magic statue. And then I just kind of went from there.
Yeah.
And he laughed so hard. And then the next day he said, can you tell me that story again? And can you tell me that story again? And at that time it didn't rhyme. It rhymes now. It didn't rhyme at the time.
It's very well written and it is in rhyme. I love it because my books are in rhyme too.
Yes.
So I really like rhymes.
Rhymes are good. And rhymes are good for young readers and elementary readers.
Yes.
Helps them associate words. It's great. But so after he kept asking for it and it had such a positive response from him, I said, maybe there's something to this. And then I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
I said to my husband, I said, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to actually write it out. And he was like, yeah, okay. And I said, I'm going to turn it into a book. And the idea was to give it to my son as a gift for Christmas. We were coming into Christmas, and I was going to give it to him as a gift. And so for 2 months, I just taught myself how to self-publish. And I used, in this case, Amazon KDP and Canva. And by the time it was all done, it became this whole other thing. And I shared it on my Facebook just as a, look what I did to my friends. And the story is that my church ladies all went crazy and bought all the copies. So I stayed at #1 on Amazon's bestseller list for a few times over the course of probably 2 or 3 months. I mean, it went up and down. Yeah. But no, it wasn't always constant. But it was on the #1 there for a while.
And that's amazing.
I thank the church ladies.
No, it's also great. And you're also being very humble because you've done a lot of great things in the community. Something recently with the library as well. You were a featured author. Yeah. I mean, you're doing things, girl.
Thank you.
You're out there. You're putting yourself out there. And that's one thing I try when I have conversations with authors, and I'm sure you do too, is if you're just going to sit at home and put your book on Amazon, it's not going to sell. You have to get out there. You have to make the effort. If you're not making the effort, no one's going to know about your book. And what's going to separate your book from 30 million books on Amazon?
Mine is not the only book. It might be the only book about a statue missing a shoe. I truly did search the internet high and low to see, am I copying someone's idea by accident? I would never want to do that.
Right.
So I searched high and low, and I couldn't find anything like that. The closest you can get is it's a really old fable of the shoemaker and the elves or something. But I couldn't. So I said, okay, I'm not copying anybody's idea by accident. Yeah. And so that was one thing.
I love it. It's so creative. And like you said, you put in lessons in there, but lessons where they don't even know it's lessons. And I think that's really important because I think sometimes authors get caught up on this book needs to show kindness, or this book needs to show like a specific topic. And remember, these are still kids. Right. These are still kids, and it has to be fun for them. Right. If they think that they're actually learning about something, they're not going to be interested in it. Not as interested.
And I love that authors are trying to do that. There's nothing
there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it.
I think the problem comes from, and I try, okay, so one of the thoughts that I had, this just happened organically, but then I go into my second book, Boy Mom, and now I've got to try to come up with this new idea. Yeah. And Boy Mom also rhymes. It doesn't track as a story, though. Boy Mom is more like a poem.
Right.
And I actually, the more I wrote it, I realized I actually am not writing towards children, although I do think children will enjoy it. I kind of started writing more towards moms.
Towards moms, yep.
And
I love that. I love this. Yes.
And that just kept, again, I say organically. It's like I kind of just sit down and I start thinking of an idea, and then I'm like, well, and then next thing I know, it just took on a whole different direction.
And those are the best things. Yeah, those are really the best things.
Well, that's where the passion comes from, right? Yeah. Where I tell people I was up till 2
or 3
a.m.
You are a mom. You do have these experiences, so it's really cool to get that perspective of an actual mom and someone that's living it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and when I do finish the books and I get down to editing and trying to really work it out, my biggest thought is, would my kids read this? And if I had to read this to my kids, would I enjoy it?
Yep.
There are some, let's be honest, there are some books that we sit down to read to our kids because they begged us, because it had some probably really cool pictures or a cool title or a character off TV or something, but the reading it to them is difficult for us.
No, exactly.
Unenjoyable.
And that brings me to my next question. You open that up so well. So what's one thing you wish you knew when you started writing children's books?
Oh boy. Okay. I knew nothing. Zero. Absolutely nothing at all. All I knew about was formatting because I'd done that in previous jobs for like reports, but not for books. Okay, so one thing I wish I had known is that it does take an incredible amount of work if you want to stay in the public eye at all. Networking is constant. That is, and I'm good at that naturally, thankfully. I'm pretty friendly with people, but man, you can't stop.
It's a lot.
Once you go, you gotta keep
going.
So there's that. The other thing I wish I knew is, okay, I'm going to tell a story about that. I was at one of my very first markets. It was at a YMCA, and I didn't have to pay to be there. That was the best kind. So I was like, I'm just here. If I sell nothing, okay. If I sell something, great. But I was so new. And I only had 2 shoes at the time, not boy mom. And this woman comes up to me, and I kind of give her my little spiel. And she walks away, and she comes back, and she says, can I tell you something? I said, what? She goes, you never told me the price. You never told me how to pay you. And you never told me why I should take this book home today. But I'm going to buy it anyway. But you need to work on those. And she goes, I'm telling you, if you can cover those 3 things, you're going to see.
That's amazing advice. Advice.
I think I remember in my head thinking I could be either really upset right now and offended that I've screwed everything up and this woman's calling me out on it. Or I could be really grateful that somebody's telling me what I need to hear because I've never done this before.
Yep.
So I thanked her. I ended up hugging her. And I remember telling her at the time, I think I'm just still in shock that somebody would spend money on something I created.
Yeah.
That
is true.
That is the thing. So when I go back to what is it I wish I knew when I started?
Yeah.
Is that your work is worth it if you believe it's worth it. If you
Yep.
put out a quality thing, there's not always quality things, and maybe it's not. But if you put out a quality thing, it is worth it, and it's okay to ask for that.
Yep.
And if people don't
Be
want
confident.
it, you be confident.
Yes, be
Once
confident.
I found my confidence, and that took many markets and many tries, meeting you and like kind of learning a lot from you too. I'm so grateful we became friends because you've taught me so much about that. But learning that it's okay to say, this is what I've made, this is the blood, sweat, and tears that went into it, and this is what it costs. And people will love that or they won't. And I'll tell you, I almost, whenever I'm like at a market or just talking to people, I rarely get a no anymore. Because I think it's just,
it's
this
the
is what
connections
it is.
too.
Yeah.
It's the connections.
Yeah.
If you actually have a heartfelt conversation with them, not necessarily just like, oh, my book, the illustrator is amazing, my book is amazing, it has great points in it to teach kindness, to teach this, to teach that. They want to hear about you. They want to hear what inspired you to write this book. Do you live locally? Like, what is your why? They love that.
The why.
They
People love
that.
the why. I read this one book as I was going into this from another friend who does a lot of markets for another industry. She does some other art. But she gave me this book to read. It was by, I think his name's Cleon. Something Cleon. I got to pull it up now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, the whole book was about how you need to be confident enough about your work.
Yep.
And the more I read it, the more I just thought, it is okay to say, this is what it is, this is what it costs.
Yep.
But the big point I loved about his too, he said, why are people addicted to HGTV? Why do people love home renovation shows?
Yeah.
Why do they like that? Because they like to see how it happens.
Right.
They want to see the
They
house
wanna
from
know
the
why.
beginning
Yeah, they
to
wanna
the
see
other
the
end
before and
of what
after.
went into it.
Yes.
The more you can
Yes.
share of what went into it, and in my case, it's my heart, my soul, my children, the staying up all night watching YouTube to learn how to do this, that's what went into it.
Yeah.
And the more you share what went into it, people respond to that.
Because people don't understand how much work goes into this.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
to actually write the story, honestly, doesn't take us any time at all.
That's the easier part.
It's the easy part. Like, that is, like,
That's
literally
the easy
the easiest part.
Yes.
Like, is so much more involved with that. You have to do the editing. You have to get the ISBN number, like, if you're doing self-published like us, because we did everything ourselves.
Everything ourselves.
Like, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And I mean, the very first book I published, girl, I didn't have a launch team.
Nope.
I didn't have any of that. I didn't even know what that was.
So
And
I joke all the time, especially when I speak with other authors, and I learn so much from people who did it the way you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think you're even starting to offer lessons and courses and private consultations on that, right?
Yes.
Good. Because
Yes.
people like me needed it at the time. But I had no idea that was even a thing. I
Yeah.
didn't know. I just YouTubed it. But I always joke that I backed into a business by accident. I never meant to make a business. I
Right.
meant to make a gift for my son.
Yeah.
And KDP was the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's how I did it.
Yep.
And then people liked it.
Yeah.
More people liked it. And then I thought, well, if people like it, maybe there's something to it. maybe I should check if there's an Instagram handle I can grab. So
Yeah.
then I grab the Instagram.
Yeah.
Well, if I have an Instagram, maybe I should check if there's a website, a domain I can reserve.
Yeah.
So I reserve that. Next thing I know, I've got Instagram, website, I'm setting up Square payment accounts.
Yeah.
I'm taking contactless payment. And I'm like,
literally
when did I
learning as
become
we
a
go.
business?
Literally learning as we go.
I never meant to be a business. Now I'm
Yes.
learning about taxes and all this stuff. I'm like, oh man. So no, if you can do it the right way and start from the beginning and go through, great. But I kind of love that mine is a happy accident.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
part
and
of what I
I
love.
mean, the best things come that way. I mean, there's some New York bestsellers that were literally written in 30 minutes because it's just what is on your mind sometimes. It's pure and raw, and those are the best.
Yeah.
Those are the best because when you're sitting there trying to force it or trying to force words or trying to force writing, like, it's really hard, and that's why a lot of writers go on like writing retreats, like not necessarily children's book, but novels and things like that.
Right.
They need like a quiet place. They need peace to be able to.
I'm glad you said that because you actually asked me earlier and I didn't answer the question. You asked if I was working on anything new.
Yes.
Okay, so I have an idea in my head and it is crystal clear to me. I can see it. I have had not one moment to sit down and put it to life. I haven't been able to do that. And these I was able to do by staying up late in the middle of the night. And that was before I took on some work from home. So now lately I've just been so busy with work and then school's back and it's just, all the reasons moms have.
Yeah.
But I have a trip coming up in a few weeks where I'm expecting to have at least a weekend where I can be quiet.
Downtime. Yeah.
And that is my goal.
Yeah.
And I am
that's
intending to sit down and
exciting.
at least get this thing on paper.
Yeah.
And if I can do that, I already have an artist in my head.
Yep.
So one other thing I like about my brand, and I know that it's very against conventional wisdom. So conventional wisdom is what, and you do, and I think that's part of why you're so successful, is create these characters that carry over and create a series.
Right.
Right? And people attach to that character and they want to see it in new places and new themes
Yeah.
and new stories. So that works. Mine, again,
You
never
don't
went
have to
that
do
way.
that.
Never
Yeah,
went that way.
You don't have to do that.
Two
Yeah.
Shoes is an entirely separate book from Boy Mom. The only thing they have in common is that they rhyme. That's
Yeah.
it. There's nothing else in common.
Hey, that's a big thing that's in common.
This one has a local Jacksonville author, which I love.
Yeah.
This one I had to do myself via Canva. So
Yeah.
I will never go through that process again as far as illustrations go.
Yeah.
But the third book, the one that's so clear in my head, I met, and this is why I think no event is wasted, even if nobody shows up.
I agree.
Is you're going to meet somebody and
You
meet
are.
that day.
Yes.
And I was at this event where I was reading to, and it ended up being a very small group. I think it ended up only being 3 families. Okay, whatever. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
But the young lady who worked there, it was like a paint shop. The young lady that worked there is an actual, like, classically trained artist.
Yeah.
And she comes over and she says, would you ever need a new author for a book? I said, well, I've got an idea in my head.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you do? So she gives me her card. And I go home and look at her website. And it is exactly what I picture for this story. This story and the general concept, and I try to do this with when I go into any kind of writing, is from the perspective of a child. So in this case, would a child want to read this? Would a mother understand this through a child's eyes? This one is literally from the perspective of a child and what they see from their small size.
Yeah.
So I had this inspiration from my young son who got scared of one of the rides at Universal. That was not a big deal. It was not a big drop.
Yeah.
And he was terrified.
Yeah.
And everybody's pressuring him. It's not that big a deal. It's like this tiny, bloop,
Yeah.
And he was hysterical. And I'm thinking, and I told everybody, I said, you know what, we need to stop. I was like, because for us who are, 5+ feet tall, it's not scary.
Right.
But for him, it's terrifying because he's this tall.
Yeah.
And I said, and that's where the book came from. And I was like, I'm going to write about those experiences from a kid's perspective.
And
so we'll
usually
see.
that's what authors write from, our experiences, or something like mine is based off of all real characters, my puppies, and
They can
my
meet the real
daughter
pickle
Peyton,
juice and the real patty cakes.
Yes.
And when you take the dogs to the events, and I see that on your Instagram. I definitely Instagram stalk you. I see all that. And I think, oh my gosh, it's just such an instant way into their heart, that they get to pet the character.
It's fun,
it's great.
and I also bring Peyton along.
I know, and she wears the space costume. It's so good.
She's been doing awesome with that. But yes, back to what we started on, that is every event is not going to be necessary sale-wise, lucrative, but there's always something good that comes from it, a connection.
100%.
Every single time I've done an event, It might not be the best sales day, but something comes from
Absolutely. And I think you have to go with that perspective, or
Yep.
you will get defeated and you will
Yes.
feel discouraged.
Yes.
I have been at events where I've sold out. I've been
Yep.
at events where I sold very little.
Yes.
It was enough just to break even.
Yes.
You and I will text each other.
Yes.
Right? If everybody hasn't figured out yet, we're pretty good friends. And we will text each other, I'm at this event. Oh my gosh, no foot traffic or whatever it is. But just like that lady that came to me and gave me that advice, that shifted my whole approach to markets and making sales.
Yeah.
I was there to meet her that day.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I didn't need to sell a lot.
And
I got something so valuable from that. Was hundreds of dollars worth of coaching right there in that 30-second interaction with her. So
exactly. It's amazing and it's really cool, and you do have to have really thick skin in this industry, but my biggest advice is keep going and do not give up.
Right.
But what is your favorite children's book and why?
Okay. I love The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Me too.
Okay. So that one I read with my children probably 3 times now, all the way through.
Okay.
And every time I cry at the end when Christopher Robin has to grow up. But I love that is a book that is directly from a child's perspective. Even the words they use and the way that Tigger speaks and the way they talk about things, the way that Winnie the Pooh, there was one of the movies about it, the one that had, oh gosh, now I can't think of it. Well, it doesn't matter. The scene is that Winnie the Pooh tries to climb the shelves and they all break. He's like, well, that's a terrible ladder. And I'm like, that's the perspective of a kid.
Yeah.
That's what kids do.
Yep.
Why wasn't that a ladder? And then we yell at them, that's not a ladder. But for them, it was a ladder. And so that's why I love Winnie the Pooh. That's why I love the Winnie the Pooh books. I love the Winnie the Pooh movies. I have Winnie the Pooh pajamas. I will do anything Winnie the Pooh because that is such endearing, sweet, innocent childhood
I agree.
at its finest.
It was my favorite. So how do you balance creativity with the practical side of publishing and reaching readers?
Okay, so I have rules for myself. I have very strict rules. And I do that for the benefit of my family. You talked about your why. My why that I repeat to myself when I get overwhelmed, I get buried in, I don't know, not enough sales, too many sales, too little sales, too much to do, too little to do. I go back to my why. And my why was I wrote a story for my son.
Yeah.
That's my why. Yep. And I did that. And I accomplished that.
Yep.
And he loves it.
Yep.
And that's it.
And anything else is
after
extra.
that is extra.
Yep.
And when I get into those fits, and we all do,
Yeah.
I have to pull myself back. And that's my why, is I wrote a story for my son.
And
so
that's
that's
what
my
keeps
rule.
it fun, too.
You have to keep that.
Yeah.
What's yours?
My why is pickle juice and patty cakes because I don't know if you know this.
Okay.
They were both very sick when they were puppies. They had pneumonia.
Oh, no.
Patty was really sick. She actually turned blue one night. We didn't think she was going to make it. We had a handheld incubator that's made for animals, and we put her in it, and I did not think she was going to make it.
Oh.
So we got in the car. It was 3 a.m. We were driving. Sorry, I get emotional.
I'm sorry.
No.
I don't think I've ever asked you.
No, so we got in the car and she was in there and we took her to the vet, and the whole time, obviously, Jet was trying to be calm and everything. I was not. I was freaking out. Because she weighed not even a pound. She's so small.
You're just holding this helpless thing.
Yeah. So we're on the way. We're literally praying the entire way there. We get there. I open the lunchbox. She's fine. We didn't have to go in there.
Oh,
She was
wow.
completely fine. So she is our miracle. And the only explanation is God.
Yeah.
Because there's no other explanation of why she's still alive. So
you want the world to know her.
I want the world to know that keep going and to never give up. And
that's so sweet. Well, thank
that's
you for
really
telling
what
me.
started
I did
that.
not know
Yeah.
that. I'm glad I know now.
Yes.
So no, just to wrap up your question, I was going to say I have that rule for myself. I go back to my why. The other rule is I take summers off. So I have been, I work so hard on my Instagram and my website through the rest of the year. But summer the boys are home. We take trips. And I just can't. I cannot. So my rule for myself is say no to everything in summer. So there were some invitations in the summer to events. There were markets and things, and I just have to say no. And tell myself that's because I'm not out chasing world domination. I am going to do my books in my time and my pace. So I wait till the weather cools off. So those are 2 of my rules that help me balance not getting overwhelmed by this.
I don't blame you because I almost died this summer. It's so hot.
It's too much.
So how do you incorporate a love for reading with your own children?
Oh, good. I started reading. So I've loved reading since I was young as well. I don't read nearly as much as I should, but I do love it when I do it.
I'm right there with you.
One day. But with my children, that's where I can find the time to read. So that's what I mean when I say the books have to be entertaining enough for me too. Because to me, that's why I'll go to book club. I have a little book club of my church. I never read the book, but I'm with them because I like them.
Yeah.
And I'll say, well, this week we read Winnie the Pooh, or this week we read one of the ones we just did was A Pilgrim's Progress. So those are my book club contributions. So one of the things I've done, I've read to them since they were honestly born. I believe, and I try to tell moms this all the time, oh, they're too little to understand. It doesn't matter. Those connections in there are happening, and that's how they learn language and the flow of language and how words go up and down and how we enunciate and shouts and quiet. And all of those are taking place. So I've started reading to them since they were young, since they were born. Then at night in bedtime, almost without fail, unless it's a very late evening or something else is going on, but almost religiously, we read every single night, even if it's just a chapter.
And that's amazing.
Thank you.
That is amazing.
It's a discipline.
I wish there were more parents like you, because a lot of parents can't find the time for it. And the one thing that I get the most at Marcus is when a mom or a dad walk by and maybe their child is only 3 or 4 years old, and we're talking about the books and everything, and they're like, oh, well, they can't read it themselves. And that blows my mind.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad, because
I wish parents knew that it has such an effect.
They
don't need to know what the words say.
It has a strong impact on their childhood.
And study after study shows
too.
it. Study after study shows it. And the other, so yes, language, intelligence. The one I think gets overlooked a lot, and it's not a bad thing necessarily to emphasize that this helps your child's vocabulary, it helps them in school. That's all true. And I think we all generally know that.
Right.
The other side of it is the connection with family.
Yes.
So when you're reading that story and you're
it's
holding them.
It's your story time together. It's your family time together. Yeah. It's that time that you can unwind from the day. If you've been gone all day, they've been at school all day.
It sets a rhythm. It also winds them down for bed.
It
does. Parents who struggle with your kids going to bed on time, this helps. It helps. So whether it's a short story that you can do in truly 10 minutes, or even a chapter. So I have read chapter books. We've done The Trumpet Swan. We've done Charlotte's Web. All of those when they were very young, to the point where even the stories were probably a little above them. Right. But we stop in between and they'll say, well, what did that mean? What did this word mean?
Yes.
Why did they do that?
Those important conversations.
Those are happening. We're snuggling. Yeah. It's creating so many benefits. So I've started that since they were young. And to this day, even with the 10-year-old, although I now make him read a lot more on his own, but especially with the 6-year-old, is we are reading something every single night. Yeah. So that's one of my rules.
And that's amazing. So how can our viewers find you?
All right, I have my website is heatherdukestories.com. That's my brand, right? Heather Duke Stories. Yes. So heatherdukestories.com. On Instagram, Heather Duke Stories as well, fully spelled out, no weird underscores or anything, just Heather Duke Stories. Email is heather@heatherdukestories.com. And on there, I have all the forms to email me. I have all the information about my school visits and how you can order both books online.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming today. You're amazing. We had a great conversation. Thank you for coming back to Author Experts with me, Heather Marie, and we'll see you next time.